running out of stock not only stops your Amazon sales, but it can also negatively impact your Amazon store's ranking and customer trust. That's why inventory forecasting and planning is very, very essential in running successful Amazon business. In this video, we talk about 3 data types which are available to Amazon sellers, which help to better forecast and plan product demand on Amazon.
Hello, Netter. I'm really happy to have you here on Orange Click channel today to talk about 3 types of data Amazon sellers could use to better forecast their product demand. This is something you know very well how to do, but so that our viewers would also know why you're the best person to talk about it, then let's first start with your introduction. And could you also give us an overview what data-driven is and how does it help Amazon sellers?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Lisette. So my background is I'm an ex-Amazonian. I used to work at Amazon. I used to run particular categories at Amazon. My focus, during my time there, was on the household supplies categories. So everything from batteries, laundry soap, dish soap, toilet paper, those type of things. And then I transitioned into a role to optimize inventory management at Amazon so that Amazon was not overstocked, not understocked, and kind of performing this just-in-time delivery model from getting products from sellers and vendors and out to customers. And after I left Amazon, I started an Amazon agency where I helped brands operate their businesses on Amazon. We did it full service for them. And then while running that agency, I eventually realized that it was difficult to see everything and look under every stone. And so I built Data-Driven. And what Data-Driven does is it identifies what's happening in your data, what's happening in your competitors' data, and what you should do about it so that you can optimize your growth on Amazon. So Data-Driven is a tool, a platform that sellers and vendors log into. And on the platform, it tells them what to do every week. Change this title, add this keyword, break this variation apart, add this coupon based on the opportunity and the data.
Okay, very cool. We know there are indeed a lot of data points available for Amazon sellers, but it's rather complicated to have a full overview of everything without using any tools. So yeah, I'm happy you are here today to share a little bit more why data is important and how it could actually help sellers to save money and also make more money. So I know you prepared some slides for us to go through and explain us how there is different kind of data available. So go ahead, share your screen, and we're ready for you.
All right. So I have some slides prepared for us today where we're going to dive into the 3 different types of data that there are to consider when forecasting for product demand. While Amazon can be quite a data-rich environment and often insight-poor environment, the goal of this presentation is to kind of help us identify, maybe we don't need to memorize all the different data, sub-data within each of those types, but if we can just remember that there's 3 main types that are ultimately influencing and driving future product sales that we can use to help us forecast. So as we dive into those, I want to kind of pause here and say, okay, why? Why should we even care about forecasting? Why does it matter to get our inventory right so that we're prepared for future sales? And ultimately, it all comes down to, if we do this right, we can grow faster, we can increase our profits, we can increase the efficiency and the performance of our marketing efforts, and we can ultimately, over time, do less work to perform our Amazon business. All things that any Amazon seller would want. Most importantly, though, Amazon's largest expense in their line item to run their business is their supply chain operations. It's getting your products, inbounding it, shipping it, organizing it, depending where to put it in the warehouse, keeping lights on in that warehouse, keeping the temperature at a certain temperature in that warehouse, and then ultimately shipping it to the end customer. All of those costs Amazon incurs. They charge sellers for that, but that cost is the largest cost that exists for Amazon while running their business. Because of that, it's their number one focus. Because it's their number one focus, all of their algorithms ultimately, generally speaking, come down to supply chain metrics. And are you hitting those supply chain metrics in a way that helps their business, or are you not hitting those metrics in a way that's hurting their business? And so if we can get forecasting and inventory planning right, then ultimately we're going to best position our ASINs to perform within Amazon's ecosystem as optimally as possible. So if we do it wrong, there's kind of this Amazon's all about flywheels. This is kind of the flywheel, but then inverted and this spiral downhill. So what happens is, if we do it wrong, if we don't forecast right, and thus we don't send in enough inventory to Amazon, our ASIN will go out of stock. That sucks. oftentimes we just think of the first loss, which is, okay, our ASIN wasn't there. Customers came to buy that kind of type of product. We lost the sale. That's certainly true. But what happens is, as we lose sales, Amazon's algorithms then start to see, oh, customers wanted your product, you weren't there for them, so next time they come back, I'm going to be cautious about putting you in front of those customers again. And so what happens is our Seller Central account starts to get deprioritized as the ones for Amazon to offer up when customers are looking for that type of product. As our Seller Central account slowly gets deprioritized, we start to not have the same amount of square footage available to us in fulfillment centers. We start to get put in the back of the fulfillment centers, not near the front, near where they're shipping products out. It can get harder and harder for us to win buy box in nuanced times when buy box winning is important, and in search. Ultimately, that results in fewer sales opportunities on the platform. As we get fewer sales opportunities on the platform, we get fewer sales. As we get fewer sales, Amazon then sees our Seller Central account as not performing very well and says, well, they're not the right seller or the right ASIN for this customer demand, as we get even fewer sales. So long story short, if we do it wrong, it's a vicious cycle down in the opposite direction of where we want to go. So now, in order to do it right, in order to have the right amount of units at Amazon across all of our ASINs, we need to plan for the future. We need to predict what's going to happen in the future, whether we're going to sell 10 units, 1,000 units, 100,000 units, and we need to do so using data. Now, it can be overwhelming, like I said in the beginning of this presentation. And so the goal of this is to call out that there's 3 particular types of data that influence our future sales. Those 3 types are input data. What do we control? What are we inputting into the system that's influencing our ASIN's position? Number 2 is output data. So from our inputs, we're getting outputs. From those outputs, we're going to have a bunch of different data points, whether it's page views or conversion rates, data coming back from Amazon's marketplace. And the third one is competitive landscape. So as we're putting inputs in, as we're getting outputs coming back to us, our competitors are also doing things within the competitive landscape. So if we sell shampoo, for example, and maybe we're number 12 in the category of shampoo, and the number 8 and number 9 and number 10 and 11 all run out of stock, well, that competitive landscape data of our competitors who are in front of us going out of stock, and all of a sudden we fall into the top 10, is going to have a massive influence on our future sales, whether that's for a week, 2 weeks. That's to be said from some analysis. So 3 types of data we want to look at, and we'll go into all the different kind of subtypes within each of them, but it's important to remember, we influence, we get data back from the marketplace, and the people we're competing with are also, all 3 of those data points are going to, we need to look at all 3 of them when considering predicting future sales. So some examples of input data, output data, competitive landscape data. Input data, what are we pricing our product at? Is it $10 and was it $12 a week ago? Or is it $10 and it was $8 a week ago? That's going to influence Amazon's system of giving us future sales. Buy box win rates. So when we're selling our item, are we selling it at a price that's much higher than the other sellers? And thus we have a low buy box win rate. Well, that's going to influence our future sales, or vice versa. Our weeks of cover inventory position. If we have 12 weeks of inventory at Amazon or 2 weeks of inventory at Amazon, and did that change dramatically over time, that's going to influence. Marketing impact. Are we running ads on these are we running campaigns and pay-per-click ads on this particular ASIN? Are we not? Are we running coupons? Down here in the promotions will impact. Also detail page quality score, right? So are we sending inventory in of a detail page that has 2 images and 2 bullets and not very good content, or are we sending it to a world-class detail page with 7 images, a video, A+ enhanced content, all the SEO added to bullets? Those are all the examples of input. So things that we can do while running our business, fingers on keyboard, that are going to influence future sales. Now, in a perfect world, we could influence future sales just by inputs, but we can't. Unfortunately, Amazon is a marketplace where there's dynamics of customers interacting with our inputs, our output data, and 2, competitors trying to win the same customer, trying to sell a similar product. So output data. So as we give the system inputs, we price the item, we send in inventory, we do our best to make good detail pages, we run marketing campaigns to drive eyeballs there. Now we get to actually interact with the customers. Output data. So what's our recent historical demand? Did we sell 10 units last week, 100 units? Did we sell 100 units last week and 3 units the week before that? We have a lot of volatility. That's going to influence future sales. Are we hitting particular seasonality shifts? Do we sell maybe, I don't know, Christmas wrapping paper, and it's just hit November, and all of a sudden historical demand around seasonality is going to be different, planning for that product than a product that maybe doesn't have as large seasonality shifts. Conversion rates and conversion rate changes. So are we converting 2 out of every 10 customers that see our product historically on Amazon? Or are we converting 40% or less or more? And is that changing? Page views, how many actual eyeballs is the Amazon Marketplace giving us when we do our best with our inputs? Our ratings, our reviews, do we have subscriptions on these items? Are those subscriptions changing? Sometimes if you sell a highly, like a consumable product that's high repeat purchase rate, you can even plan down to the highest subscription week within a month. And so in that cases, in some cases, you can start to predict, well, most people get their subscription of toilet paper, for example, in the 4th week of the month. And so I can predict that, okay, that 4th week is going to have a larger sales forecast than the other weeks in a month. Okay, so we have input data, the data that we put into the system, trying to do our best to drive future sales. We have output data, the customers interacting with our products, and the data that gives us to tell us how we're performing. And then lastly, we have our competitors who in some cases are either making everything harder, or we might be outperforming them and making it easier for us to grab future sales. So last one, competitive data. So this is, again, our category rank changes, or do we just break into the top 10 or the top 100 in a category? And then particular thresholds within that. So being in the top 3 versus the number 1 versus the top 100, there's particular thresholds that have a dramatic impact on future sales on Amazon. And then also across particular keywords that we're bidding on or not bidding on, and how that's working for us in an offensive or defensive manner. So if I sell Kleenex wipes and I can see that maybe it's getting really hard to buy impressions for Kleenex wipes, that's going to have a dramatic impact on my ability to get customers looking for Kleenex wipes. And so we have input data, what we put into the system, output data, what customers give us back, and competitive landscape. So what our competitors are doing in the field in which we're competing, that's going to influence our future sales. Now, where it gets tricky is trying to manage all, and there's more than just the ones that are on the screen, but where it can get tricky is by identifying not every metric impacts equally, and not every metric impacts equally every week. Sometimes your seasonality trends might be the biggest impact on your next 2 months worth of sales. Sometimes seasonality might be literally the last metric of all of the metrics on the board that are impacting your future sales. And so there's a couple different ways to go about it. But ultimately, the main takeaway is it can be complicated, but it gets less complicated as we start to break it into these silos. When we think about these silos and executing an Amazon business, we can work on our operations so that we're doing the best we can on that input data. We're being as humble and responsible as we can on that output data, right? So if an ASIN is coming back and everybody who looks at it doesn't buy our products, well, not trying to overcompensate with input data of, let me just make better keywords, let me make better images. We need to be humble enough to realize that we're selling a product customers don't want, if that's what the output data says. Or competitive landscape data. Maybe we're selling a product that simply our competitors have way deeper pockets, and we can't spend the amount of money that they can to get in front of the customers. And so recognizing that, well, these 3 different data types, input, output, and competitive landscape data, are used to predict future sales. More important than just trying to predict future sales, these are the silos that we want to understand deeply about each ASIN as we're trying to figure out what ASIN makes sense to keep selling, what ASIN makes sense to invest more into, what ASIN makes sense to try and negotiate lower costs because we're going to go harder on that ASIN. And so aside from using it in the formulas for predicting forecasting, these are the 3 silos that we kind of always wanted to be thinking about any of our ASINs on an Amazon business across all sales, marketing, operations, et cetera. So where is all of this data? So if we wanted to go out and start to use some of this data to influence and play with different equations in Excel to figure out, okay, how can I predict future sales? Where do I get it? Ultimately, there's 2 locations. We have inside of Seller Central, and there's a bunch of just random examples here of inside of the ad campaigns or inside of Seller Central fulfillment reports or business reports, and also on Amazon's marketplace. So on Amazon's detail pages, on our detail pages, on our competitors' detail pages, there's a lot of data in here around category ranking or how many sellers are in the buy box or what's my rating, my reviews, where am I ranked within certain categories. And so ultimately we have 3 data types, but 2 data sources. It's either in Seller Central itself, that would be our input and our output data, or Amazon Marketplace, where most of the competitive landscape data can be found. Some examples here, just to kind of highlight how it can be complicated. So this is just the exact same data points we had before, but just real life examples of a current client that I think it was 30 days ago when we pulled this data. That was their actual real data in a week over week analysis. So we said in the input data, their ASP, their Amazon selling price was $15, which was actually down 25% from the week prior. So it looks like we got sharper on pricing. Our buy box win rate was pretty much flat, and we were pretty much winning all of the buy box percentages on Amazon, 99% win rate. We had 2 weeks of cover, so we were kind of low, but at a nice point there where we weren't paying for overages on Amazon. We had about 70% of our sales coming from ads. So we can see that we haven't built much organic credibility within the category yet. 4% of our sales were including a promotion, and the detail page score was a 9 out of 10. Basically, it was a pretty rock star detail page. So input wise, we had a lot of things going relatively in a good direction, the way we would want them to go. Output data, we had 502 units sold the week prior, which was 100% week over week growth. That's sizable. That's statistically significant. That's not normal activity. And we have this call out that we're going into the highest sales month over month compared to last year. So seasonality wise, this product sold a lot of their units in the year in the particular month we were going into. I think they're like a back to school product is potentially why. Strong conversion rate bumping up by 50% week over week. Again, very statistically significant. A large increase, 33% increase in page views, ratings about stable, and subscribe and save not too impacted, slightly uptick from the week prior. We're number 7 in the category, which was 100% increase. So we were 14. So we just broke into the top 10, as we see here. And we see most of our ad performance coming from offensive keywords, or we're going after others. So long story short, all of these things are going to influence my predicted sales for next week, the week after, the week after, the week after that. The example we're showing today would be an example of most likely of all this data going into their highest month from the previous year. So seasonality is probably going to have the biggest impact on predicting their sales for the next 4, probably 5, 6 weeks in this particular case. But again, like I said, we might have another case where it's all about conversion rate changes or page view decreases, or we're going from number 20 in the category to number 27. And so now we need to predict future sales that are taking into consideration those not ideal situations. So just a simple example to show lots of data, but what's good is lots of data, and probably I'd say 60 to 70% of predicting our future sales for the next 6 weeks for this particular ASIN is all going to come from what happened last year and what's my current run rate. And so while it's complicated, all this data, it gets a little bit less complicated with the input, output, or competitive landscape data. It gets even easier as we start to identify individual data points that are probably having the biggest impact over the next few weeks. Now, the problem with all of this is ton of data, hard to extract, requires automation. It can be expensive to build. Long story short, it can be hard to do this by ourselves, just an Excel sheet, especially if we have 2 ASINs, 3 ASINs, 5 ASINs, 50 ASINs, 500 ASINs, 5,000 ASINs. It gets extremely difficult to try and do this at all times across all the different variables. And even if we do it perfectly, so identifying what data points are impacting us the most, understanding what the likelihood of that's going to have an impact on the future sales, we then have to plan inventory accordingly. So just knowing what's going to happen doesn't actually solve the problem. We then have to get inventory into Amazon in accordance with those plans. So we need accurate plans, and then to manage our inventory accurately. Inventory management, to do so accurately, is kind of a whole presentation in and of itself. But some key points here that I wanted to kind of call out as like the 4 pillars to doing it well are having a targeted weeks of cover across each ASIN at around 4 weeks. So ideally having the amount of inventory at Amazon that's about a month's worth of demand. So if you're planning demand well, so if you say, I think I'm going to sell 10 units a week, 40 units is what you should be having at Amazon. That's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is storage fee management. So when we, relatively speaking, only have inventory at Amazon for 1 month at a time, we're not having, our P&L doesn't really need to consider storage fees at Amazon, because Amazon doesn't charge a storage fee for the first month. Thirdly, being able to ship in product on a weekly cadence is what really makes it possible to manage inventory at that level. That's not everyone's reality, but if and when you can get to that reality, that's the easiest way to do it, to hit the inputs that Amazon cares most about. And lastly, SKU level optimization. So recognizing that not every SKU is created equal. I think it's very easy when we manage our Amazon businesses in an Excel sheet to just view like ASIN A, B, C, D, E, and this guy's doing this many units, this many units, this many units. But it's important to recognize that Amazon doesn't always have room for 30 days worth of inventory of every product you sell. And so making sure that our top performing ASINs, or our ASINs with the highest conversion rate, or our ASINs with the best category ranking, or ASINs that we have the most competitive advantage in selling, making sure that those ones are optimized before the other ones in our catalog is going to be important. So as Amazon gets tight on warehouse space, especially in Q4, our most important ASINs are being prioritized over the rest of them. And so the watchouts for kind of going after this, planning our future sales, predicting them, and then planning our inventory is doing it alone. It can be challenging. We can find ourselves in silos, not listening to great, presentations like OrangeClick puts on, or other groups out there, trying to just think we have it all in our heads. It can be a scary place to operate, as you're maybe missing certain things that can impact your business. Using software can also be a big watch out if you're using software that doesn't consider all of the factors necessary for accurate demand planning. So if you're using software that predicts how much inventory you should send in, but it doesn't consider how much money you're spending on ads on that very ASIN, that would be a huge watch out of you're probably going to be not have optimal inventory inside of Amazon. Not unlocking growth within Amazon's top priority. So if whatever way you're doing your inventory management on Amazon, if you're not considering the fact that Amazon's largest cost is taking in, holding, and shipping out your products, you're likely being held back on your growth potential on the platform. So another big watch out. Other one would be weighing factors more or less than Amazon does. So in my example earlier, where it seemed like seasonality was the biggest impact on that ASIN, let's say we didn't think that. Let's say that was the data, and for whatever reason, we actually thought maybe it was Subscribe and Save was the biggest impact. And so us trying to plan all of our future sales around what's happening in Subscribe and Save, when in reality, we know that Amazon's algorithms are actually planning it based off a seasonality change. So making sure we're doing what we think Amazon is doing as well. And then also a big watch out would be not paying attention to what's happening in your competitor landscape. So like I said earlier, if you were number 12 in the category and for whatever reason, all of a sudden you just fell to number 7 in the category, you need to plan for future sales, and you need to send in inventory very differently than you did a week ago, because you have a huge opportunity change when you go from number 12 to number 7 in a category. When you break top 10, your exposure inside of Amazon's automation and personalization widgets, where it says, we recommend for you, or customers who bought this, also bought that. The quality of impressions you get inside of ads dramatically changes when you're a top 10 ASIN versus a not top 10 ASIN. So making sure that you're planning your future sales differently when these type of activities happen, and then sending in inventory accordingly. And then lastly would be swing the pendulum too drastically from saying, oh, that ASIN's biggest competitor just went out of stock, I'm going to send in 100 weeks worth of inventory to try and capture that demand. So swinging the pendulum too drastically can cause you problems at Amazon that can sometimes be difficult to kind of unwind. So those are the watchouts. I added in here, how we can help at Data Driven. We recently got acquired by Carbon6, an awesome technology company that's scooping up all the great tools out there in the Amazon space. So you can contact us at carbon6.io/data-driven. And my email's here on the screen as well.
All right, thank you so much for going through a large amount of information and data points. I think it's super interesting, actually, the way you laid out and you categorized those different types of data, because I think a lot of sellers even don't realize how to do this categorization. Am I right?
Yeah, it's very easy to get bogged down in thinking we control the world as an Amazon seller, but we're just 1/3, right? Input data is 1/3. We need to be recognized. There's output data and competitor data as well.
Okay, but definitely the situation is different for a seller who is already selling a product. They already have the previous sales data versus when sellers are launching a new product. And this is probably something you have to talk about often with sellers. So can you give us a brief overview or some insights how to do this demand forecasting for new products if you don't have the output data, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So ultimately what we try and do in those situations is we first say, who are we competing with? Roughly speaking, we're not, we're not creating a wheel for the first time, right? Somebody's out there selling a wheel. And so what we do is we look for lookalike products that currently are satisfying that customer need. And then what we say is we need to get clear on what's our competitive advantage against their current offering. So if you're in the business of, let's say you want to sell organic shampoo, and so we look and we see, oh, there's other people selling organic shampoo on Amazon. Great. Could we say, what's unique about our offering? If the uniqueness about our offering is, let's say, we're just another organic shampoo, we do everything the same. We're eco-friendly, we're vegan, we're relatively similar price point, similar size bottle, but we can't really say we're doing anything uniquely different. Then we say, okay, that's going to impact our expected ability to steal some of the share away from current sellers in that space. Or if we say we are, I don't know, it's not true, but let's pretend we're the first to come up with an organic shampoo in a travel size. Let's say that we have that unique moment in time. That would be lovely if that was true. In that case, we're going to say that's going to influence our planned sales going into that category differently than if we are the same thing, relatively just another offer. So first we need to find out, are we coming in with a true competitive advantage, or are we coming in to just chip away at some of the sales to be another offer? And those are two very different activities. So activity on the right over here will be the one where we have a unique offering. Activity over here on the left is we're just another offering. We think it's a large category that we can steal some share from. Okay, so then what we say is we need to start using another ASIN's output data. We have to go use, whether it's different tools that we sign up for, or it's just on Amazon itself, identifying different ASINs on the platform that are selling as those type of items. So if we're selling over here, the travel size organic shampoo, we need to go look at, not organic shampoo, we need to go look at how is travel size performing against larger bottles inside of Amazon. Once we can get an understanding of that ratio, we're going to apply that ratio over here. So let's say we see, for example, that about 50% of shampoos bought on Amazon are the big ones and 50% are travel size. If the data was that clear, let's pretend it is. So then over here, we know we're about to come out with the very first organic shampoo that's travel size. So we can assume that long-term, we're going to be able to go after 50% of the larger size organic shampoo. So that's kind of our benchmark. Over here, we can say on the left hand where we said we're just another seller in the category. This one, we're going to start to go look at click data. So we're going to go look at data around when people are typing in organic shampoo or eco-friendly shampoo or vegan shampoo, different keywords that matter to the type of product we're selling. We're going to go look at click share distribution. So we're going to say, okay, does it seem like when someone types in organic shampoo, 95% of the time they're just clicking on this one ASIN, or maybe 3% of the time they're clicking on this ASIN, 3% of the time they're clicking on that ASIN, 2% of the time they're clicking on that ASIN. And so we're trying to identify, do we have click distribution consolidated, or do we have click distribution distributed? In both scenarios, that's going to influence our expected ability to steal some of that share. If it's majority going to one ASIN, then we need to do analysis around that one ASIN, that price point. We probably need to undercut them on price point, and we need to get clear around how much we can afford to go after them with paid search ads. If it's distributed across many ASINs, that shows us that Amazon's customers are generally not satisfied, or they're not all in agreement around this is the best organic shampoo when that's what you're looking for. That's the type of data we want to see if we're launching a new product that's not uniquely identified, because that tells us we have a chance. That tells us nobody else has satisfied the customer. Maybe ours will. So, okay, we have each of those three scenarios. Now what we're going to try and go do is, now this is where it becomes funny math. This is where it's predicting magic. This is where what we're doing is we're going to use another ASIN that's similar size, similar price point, similar unique value propositions. And we're going to try and identify what sales they're doing on Amazon, what category rank they are in Amazon. We're going to take a look at how long they've been on the platform. You can do that by looking at the age of their reviews. And so if the ASIN that we're going after has been on, has 20,000 reviews, and it looks like their reviews have been there since 2012, well, that tells us it's going to take us, we're not just going to be able to get there in 6 months. It's probably going to take us a while. Versus if we see an ASIN that has 1,000 reviews, and most of them it looks like have come in the last 2 years, that's going to be influence us to say we can get to a higher sales velocity sooner. So then we do some funny math to predict. But again, we're basically putting our ASIN into a category. Uniquely identified, we're going to be able to steal share that no one's thought of because we have this unique product, or we have the same product as everybody else, but nobody else has satisfied it, or we have the same product as everybody else and one product has satisfied it. There's tactics in both places. If one ASIN has satisfied the demand, then we need to just go hard against that one ASIN. If everyone is dispersed to getting some sales, then we just need to come in with our offer and try and win generic keyword. And if we have this unique example where we're the first with a travel size, we need to go after that. So the funny math kind of breaks out after that. I'd need to like get specific, but basically what you're doing is you're using benchmark ASINs that are pre-existing in the Amazon marketplace, either exact lookalikes as yours or similar scenarios to yours. And then you're predicting, okay, what are their sales at? They're doing, say, 1,000 units a month right now. And I expect, I'm going to get there by, I think, a six-month time horizon is a smart kind of lens to wear when you're talking about launching new items. And so how much of that 1,000 units a week that they're doing 1,000 units a month, excuse me, that they're doing, how much of that can I capture in 6 months from now after launching my new item? And you use kind of some of those benchmarks I was just going over to inform you across some of that. Now, there are other great tools out there that try and do a lot of that kind of funny math for you. My recommendation would be not just launching products on Amazon because you have an inclination. My recommendation would be doing this base analysis first of, am I the first to sell a travel size? That's one thing. I'll definitely go hard after that. Or two, am I just another offer? And then making sure I have a strategy that has a chance to win, whether I'm going against the one incumbent who's winning all the demand right now, or if I get to spread it across many. My recommendation is working with either ex-Amazonians or agencies, not just putting it into a tool that's just predicting how many sales are happening in this category and if you sold another one. I don't think those are, I don't know if anyone's done it, but I can't imagine that those are that accurate retroactively and using some of those tool analysis. I think there's some human strategy that needs to kind of go behind it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think it was like the second part of the presentation. It was so interesting to hear how you kind of were breaking down all of these different elements. And of course, you made up these examples, but I think they really help to understand what's kind of behind it and what's the logic and how sellers should actually approach the whole process. So yeah, thanks a lot for going in depth with that. And once more, to kind of wrap up, just if you could explain once more how data-driven helps sellers and maybe what size sellers this tool is the best for, and also what's the best way to learn more about it if somebody wants to sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we help sellers is we tell sellers every week what to do on their Amazon business. In lame terms, it's a glorified to-do list. So every week we look at your data, we see what's working for you, what's not working for you, and what you could do about it. And we give it to you in to-do lists. Joe, go do this. Sally, go do this. Change this keyword, break apart this variation, add this coupon, all of the things that can be done to an Amazon business. We tell you what to do to what ASIN at what time based on the opportunity in the data, so that you don't have to analyze data, figure out what to do, figure out what not to do. It's all right there for you. So Monday morning, you're cranking on the work that needs to be done. The type of sellers that this is best for, it's definitely most ideal for sellers that have been on the platform doing some sales. I think relatively speaking, around 500,000 in annual sales on Amazon. If you've hit that benchmark, that's usually the best time period to start using data-driven. And I think up to around 20 million on Amazon. It's the 500,000 to 20 million on Amazon in annual revenue that we find that we can have the most major impact on.
Okay, very cool. So thank you so much. If you have questions who are watching us now, then leave them in the comment box, because we can invite Nature to come back later to answer those, and just like the video as well if you enjoyed what he shared. So thanks again for your time. I think this video is super useful for the sellers, and I hope to see you soon again.
I hope the tips you heard in this video were useful, and if they were, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to our channel. If you have additional questions, use the comment section below this video. In the description you will find the link to data-driven tool, which can help you to forecast your inventory, so check this out. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video where you will learn how to make Amazon keyword research in 15 minutes. check this out.